Alright, this is the noob, and in this video I'm just going to go over how to use my editor to create a simple platformer with some scrolling in it. So to actually be able to follow along with this, you're obviously going to need RCBasic, but you're also going to need my editor, which is available in this software section here. Just go to n00bEngine and just go to download. And even though I call it a game engine, it's the only thing that is really like point and click about it is the editor itself. So being able to place tiles and like sprites into the stage, but all the logic and stuff still going to be done in code. So once we have that downloaded and you extract it, you're going to have all these files here. And before I start up the editor, I'm going to go over some stuff that I've already included with this. If you are downloading it from the forum just now, I already included a sprite file, which I got from, I got from Open Game Art. This sprite here, Prinsu-kun. It's a CC by 3 and 4. So it's okay for me to include it because I'm not using it commercially for anything. And I included some simple tiles I made for another game a few years back. But we have a basic tile sheet here, and then I included a few backgrounds, which we're going to be using all of these inside of the editor, but just so you know, for your own purposes, all your backgrounds need to be in that folder, your sprites need to be in that folder, and your tiles will need to be in this folder, and sound effects and music need to be in that folder. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and start up the editor. It's this editor.bas file, which it's not compiled from the get-go, so let's just go ahead and compile it. So RCBasic _build editor.bas. And if you are on Windows and you don't have this RCBasic build in your path, just use however you have RCBasic set up to compile editor.bas, and it'll still work. Like if you want to open it in Genie and compile it that way, that's fine. But I'm just going to do it here. And it's a lot of code, so it might take a while. So we got it built, and we're just going to start the editor with RCBasic and editor and enter, and it starts up our editor. So we want to first create an empty stage, so we're just going to create a new stage, and we're going to just call our stage level 1. Sorry. And our tile width, I set the default tile width in the editor to 32 by 32 because that's typically the tile size I use, which is the tile size we're going to use for this today. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK on that. And now we have an empty stage, and we don't have anything we can put in our stage yet, so it's just a blank stage. So let's go ahead and add some stuff to put in our stage. So let's click on the tile tab, and in the tile tab we can load up to 4 different tile sets, which doesn't seem like a lot, but really I've only ever used one, because you can basically put all your tiles in one tile set, but I just wanted to have a little bit more flexibility, so I had up to 4 tile sets. So we're going to go to load tile set, and I'm going to hit load on that. This is the tile sheet that's in that folder I showed you earlier. And before we actually we'll come back to it later, but you know, we have all of our tiles here. So we're gonna go ahead and now add some sprites to add to our stage. So, well, a sprite. So we're gonna add let's create a new sprite, and it's looking for an image file in the sprite folder, and it'll list all the image files in the sprite folder here. So we want this one, and this sprite is actually a 16 by 16 sprite. So we're going to hit OK on that. And now we have our sprite. And to be able to show the sprite, we have to add some animations to it. So we're going to have 6 animations total. We're going to have a standing, walking, and jumping animation for left and right. So let's go ahead and add a new animation, and we're going to go over here and change the name of this animation to stand right. And I'm going to go and fix that because I added 2 H's. So now to make an animation, if we hit play now, it'll have this, but that's just because it's a default. We don't have any frames down here though, so we need to add a frame. So now we have a frame, and that we don't need to worry about FPS because it's just one frame, but just make sure you have at least one frame in your animation. So let's hit new, and we're gonna change this new animation to walk right, or I guess we'll call it run right. And let's add 2 frames to this, and we're gonna make our first frame in this the one where he's stepping. So now let's go ahead and play this, and we see it's going way faster than we want to, so we want to slow that down a little bit. So we're going to increase the frames per second, which is the number of frames it'll attempt to draw per second. When you set that to 0, it basically makes like this infinitely fast animation automatically, which normally the lower the frame count, the slower it would be. So like for instance, we set this to 1 and hit play. But we want it to be a little bit faster than that, so we're going to go to 8 frames per second, and I think that's a decent speed. And let's add one more animation, and this is going to be our jump right. And this is going to be 1 frame as well. So and let's go ahead and add 3 more animations, and we're going to do the same thing for this left side. Hit the equal sign and there. And I don't think I mentioned this, but to change the frames you need to be hitting this equal sign, and you would hit the minus sign to subtract the last frame you added. So and jump left. And we're going to add the jump frame. Alright, and then we can go ahead and add this sprite to the stage. And that's really all we really need to do, but I'm going to go over to this second tab just to explain what this does, which this, on this screen, we can set our, like, the area of our bounding box. So like, let's say we wanted to set it on this frame right here. We click on that, and you'll see, like, when you click on each one, it'll switch the frame index. So what this one right here will be frame index 2, because it starts at 0, so 0, 1, 2, and then 3 will be the last one in this case. And then to actually edit it, we'll go to frame view, and then from here we can, like, either edit it the bounding box from here for the sprite, or we can just click in here and just start drawing. And we set it like that also, but we're going to just go ahead and keep it at default. So 0, 0, and 16, and 16, and we're gonna go ahead and save this sprite. Now if we had multiple sprites in here and we wanted to edit this one, we could just go click on this one or whichever one we want to edit and hit edit sprite, and it would bring that sprite back up into here so that we can edit, add and remove animations and change the bounding box area, and you know, and add from files basically allows us to, like, if we didn't want to edit a sprite, we just wanted to add a bunch of sprites from files, like it would list all of our sprites we have saved in the project here, and we can just click and then like click these arrows that go over to add it to our stage and click OK afterwards. But we don't need to do that here. And remove sprites, pretty self-explanatory. Add current sprites, just adding whatever sprite we have here to our scene if it's not in the scene already. So I think all of that is pretty clear. So now we're back in our stage tab, and we're just going to start editing a stage. But if you click on something and then start trying to click in the stage, you'll notice that you can't actually add anything, and that's because we don't have a tile layer, and you can only put tiles on a tile layer. So if we go over to layer settings, and these we have like 5 layers total, 0 to 4, and 0 would be the very back layer, and then 4 would be the layer closest to us. So what we want to do for this, we're gonna have 2 backgrounds because we want to mess around with some parallax scrolling for the backgrounds. So we're going to change layer 0 to background and layer 1 to background, and then we're going to change layer 2 to tile. And now we still can't add our tile, and that's because we're in layer 0. Now you can go up to here and change what layer you're on. So we're going to go up to here and we're going to select layer 2, and now we can just click on something and then we can add tiles now. And we're gonna go and add some water here. Now you notice that I have 2 frames for water here, and that's because it's animated water, but the water is not animated, and that's because we haven't animated our water tile. So if we want to do that, we would just go back over to the tile layer, and we're going to click on the specific frame of water we added, which is this first one. And down here we're going to hit this plus sign to add a frame to it. Click on that frame and hit the equal sign. We're going to set that to the second one. And now let's play that. And we get, it's the same like controls for the most part as sprite animation. And I think that's a pretty good speed, so we're not going to change the speed for the water. So now if we go back over to stage, we see that our water is animated. And now we're going to just go ahead and take this blue one right there and just fill in And we're not going to make an incredibly long stage. We're just going to make a stage long enough to show off some basic collision and animation. So we got our water, and let's add and another thing too, while we're in this editor, if we want to scroll over, because we can scroll over to the full size of the stage we created, which is 100 by 100 pixels. So to be able to scroll, just have your mouse inside of the stage area and use the arrow keys to move around. So with that, we're going to go ahead and then we're going to add, well, I guess we'll go and for this, I mean, I would recommend, at least for now, trying to stay close to the stage that I'm making. Well, at least have like a similar design to the stage I'm making, because we're going to be using it to show off some collision and physics and stuff. So this is why I'm going with this. But for now, sorry, my keyboard is acting up really badly. All right. And I think for now this is basically all we're gonna do, because I think with this we'll be able to show off what we were trying to show off. And if you want to make a longer stage later, you're more than welcome to. So let's go ahead and add those backgrounds I was talking about. So let's go to layer 0. And in layer 0, we're going to go over to the BKG tab, and we're going to load image, and we're going to load background 1 into layer 0, and then in layer 1 we're going to load background 2. So now we have our background, but you notice that our backgrounds don't really scroll with the level, and that's because they're just static images. So what we want to do is set a property. So we're going to click on properties, and we're going to set the we're going to start with layer 0. So let's switch back to layer 0, and we're going to go to properties, and we're going to set the property to scroll, or the flag to scroll. And with scroll, the stage will automatically scroll based on the horizontal speed and vertical speed. And we don't want to scroll vertically really, so we're just going to change the horizontal speed. Now, to get that parallax scrolling effect I was talking about, we need to have the furthest background scrolling at a slower speed than the one in front of it. So we're gonna have the one in the very back scroll at like maybe like 0.7, and hit OK on that. And now let's go to layer 1 and go to properties, and we're gonna switch this flag to scroll as well, and we're gonna have this horizontal speed scroll at 0.9. And then hit OK on that. So now you notice when you're moving, your background is scrolling at a the backgrounds are scrolling at different speeds, and it gives us that parallax effect. Now if you don't want this to look like it's just out in the middle of nowhere, you can go ahead and go back to tile. We'll switch back to layer 2, and we'll go ahead and fill this in a little bit more. Sorry, this is a terrible keyboard. Come on. There we go. Actually, I think it just needs new batteries. It's a wireless keyboard, so. There we go. Alright, and Oh boy, this keyboard is something else. That's good. Alright, so now we need to put our character sprite in here. So we're gonna go over to actor, and we're gonna add an actor, and this will list all of our sprites that we have currently loaded, and this will list the animations for the currently selected sprite down here. And the animation you select down here will just be the animation that it starts out at when the stage is loaded. So we're going to just keep this sprite in the stand right animation, and we're going to call this new actor hero. I'll put this in lowercase, so hero, and then hit OK. So now we have an actor, and we can just place him if you are on the actor tab and you have the actor you want selected. Make sure you're in the layer you want him to be in, and then click somewhere in the layer, and it'll add that actor to the stage in that layer. And it's important to remember the layer, because like let's say we instead we have him in layer 2 right now. Let's say instead we want him in layer 0. So now we click in layer 0, and you see he's drawing underneath these clouds right here, because those clouds are in layer 1. So let's go ahead and add them back to layer 0, and we'll just put them slightly above the ground. And now the last part we need is to add some collision to the stage so that the actor will have something to collide with. Right now we just have tiles, and the actor doesn't automatically collide with tiles. The tiles are just drawn, but they're not really automatically collidable objects. So what we want to do is go to shape, and there's two ways we can add shapes, because right now the only shapes that we can really use is rectangles. So we could go to add shape, and we could put the X, Y, width, and height of the rectangle where we want it. Or a better way is just to press R, and now we can just draw our rectangle in our scene, and the actor's bounding box will check for collision against all the rectangles we draw. Now we don't want one there, so we're gonna draw a rectangle for this, and you notice right now it's not perfectly lined up with the tile grid. So if we want it to be perfectly lined up, which generally I do most of the time, just hit T. Yeah, T. There we go. You hit T, and now it's lined up with the grid. And I guess that's good. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. And we're going to add another rectangle here. And notice I'm drawing the rectangle from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. You need to do top left to bottom right, otherwise it will mess up collision. And that might be something that I adjust for and fix in a future update. But it hasn't been a problem for me, because I just remember to draw from top left to bottom right. So if that's something that somebody using this really wants to see in a future update, just let me know in a forum. So now we have our collision set, but we don't have this layer set as a active collision layer. So to do that, we're going to go back over into our stage area right here, and we're going to go over to on layer 2 we have a tile layer. We're going to set on the checkbox next to that. We're going to click that, and this is the collision detection. So when this is set, that means when we're actually running our game loop, the engine will automatically start to check for collision on that layer. And the last thing I just want to show real quick is just what all of these checkboxes here do. The main column, which is your first column right here, you have one for each layer. The main column is just all of these here. So main and layer 0 and 1 would be the background, and main for layer 2 would be tiled. So if we wanted to hide the very background, we would just click main for layer 0 and it removes that background. Now and it would remove the tiles in layer 2. And the actor and shapes are pretty explanatory too. So if we wanted to remove the actor or the shapes on that layer, we would just select those. So I think we have everything we need now. We can go ahead and hit save. Okay. And now we can actually start writing the code for our game. Alright, now we're going to get around to actually coding our game. But before I go into that, there was something I didn't go over in the last part of the tutorial. So we're going to open the editor back up and load our stage. And right now I've already fixed it, but what you want to do is go to when you load your stage, if you didn't hit save tile set after you added your animation, when you've loaded your stage, you're not going to have the animated water. So go back through and add that animation to your water again, and just hit save tile set, and that'll fix that. And another thing, since we have the editor open, that we want to go over real quick is something we're going to need for a code part. The name of our actor, which is hero. This is what we're going to need to actually reference our actor inside the engine. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and open up our text editor, which I use Genie, but you can also, if you're on Linux, you still have access to the default RCBasic editor, which I still include because I just never took it out of the install. So you can use this if you want. Did I click on it? Alright. So yeah, the RCBasic editor is still included, but it's not really something I would recommend using unless you're just wanting a really quick and simple editor. But it's really bare bones. But I'm going to be using Genie for this. First thing I'm going to do is just go into Docs, and I'm going to open up the engine documentation. And this has all of our global variables at the top, and then at the bottom it lists all of our functions. We have access to an engine with a description on what they do, which we may need to reference. It's always good to have your docs available. And now we're just going to create a new file, and we're going to save it inside of our engine folder so we have access to the library. So let's go to save as, and I have mine saved on the desktop. And I'm going to call this game.bas. So now we have our file where we're going to do our game code. To be able to use the engine for like loading levels into our game and controlling actors and stuff, we want to include engine.bas. And next, let's just open up a simple game window. So we're going to do game window open, and give your window a title. I'm going to call mine's like tutorial. And and we're going to make this a 640 by 480 window, and you can set this to last part to 0 or 1. 0 would be window and 1 would be full screen, but I'm going to stick with window mode. And now we just need to create a game loop that'll just continue running while our game's running, so that we can check for collision detection, key presses, whatever else we need for our game. So I'm just going to create a while loop. So let's call this while, well, let's say while not key, and k underscore escape. And then for our engine to actually be able to check stuff like collision detection and to be able to draw the scene, the only thing we need to call is game render. And that gives us our bare bones game project. So let's just compile that. And if everything goes right, you should be able to run it and just see an empty black screen. And it has our title at the top of the screen, tutorial. So escape to close that. And now we're going to load our stage. So let's just call the load stage function. And sorry, I'm mess typing. Whatever the name of your stage, well, our stage was, which was like level 1. And it's saved as a .stage file, so level1.stage. And now we should be able to compile that and run it, and we'll see our game stage loaded. Just to go over some stuff, you notice right now we have our character loaded, but he's like floating above the ground, and that's because we haven't added physics to our stage. So let's exit this and go ahead and add physics. So first thing we need to do is enable physics for the layer that we want to enable it on. So we have all of our stuff in layer 2, like our actor and our shapes are in layer 2 from the previous part of the tutorial. So we're going to go to stage, we're going to have stage, layer, and physics, and layer 2. And we'll set that equal to true. And now we need to turn on physics for our actor. So first we need to get a reference to our actor. And remember, our actor was called hero. So we could create, you can create a variable and call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it hero just for consistency. And we're going to say get actor ID. And we want to get hero. And this is just going to give us an index to that actor. And now we want to turn on the actor's physics attribute. So we'll say actor physics hero equals true. And we also need to give the actor a weight. So and that's just determines how fast the actor falls. So we're going to say actor weight hero equals, I guess 4 would be a good falling weight. And yeah, that should be it. Let's go ahead and compile that and run it. And now our actor should be on the ground. And so now we have our actor on the ground and our stage. What we want to do now is basically just create some simple controls so we can move around. So we're going to create a way of moving left, moving right, and then we're going to create a jump mechanic. So let's go and just for moving left and moving right, that's pretty simple. It's just use key function, just check see if left key was pressed, and then if the left key was pressed, to move our actor left, we'll use the actor move function. So actor move, and then your actor will be the first argument. Why am I typing 0? Right. And then how much left how much left or right you want to move. This is basically how far in the left, how far in the x-axis you want to move. And we'll set like we'll move like negative. Actually, I guess yeah, -2 is good. And we'll move 0 on a y-axis. And then we're going to do the same thing for moving right. So k_right, then actor move, and we're at hero, and we're going to move it 2 in a positive direction and 0 on a y-axis. And now let's just go ahead and run that real quick. And we can now move left and right. But we don't have the ability to jump, and since physics are enabled, if you go over the edge, you're just going to fall off the stage. So let's fix that. Well, not really fix the falling off the stage. That's still going to happen, but we're going to add our jump button now. So to do jump, I would normally just create a variable called like jump ready. I'll set it equal to false for now. Because basically for jumping, we want to only be able to jump if you know, the actor is on the ground. So we're going to check first to see if the actor is on the ground with actor physics state hero equals physics state ground. And there's 3 different physics states. If you go into doc, you can use which I'm going to do a better job of organizing these eventually, but let's look for, yeah, here we go. You have ground, rise, and fall. So we are just checking to see if it's on the ground. Rise would be a state you would want to maybe change it to. Actually, we're going to change it to rise for our jump. But so right now we're just checking to see if the actor's on the ground. And we're also going to check if yeah, I guess oh yeah, check to see if our jump key was pressed. So I'm gonna use Z for jump, but you can use like space or whatever. So, and then if the actor's on the ground and the Z key was pressed, I'm gonna say we're gonna start our jump. So to start our jump, first thing we need to do is change our actor physics state to physics state rise. Let's see. And then we want to set a value for actor jump. And this is just basically how high the actor will jump. And I'm going to set this to like something pretty high, like 120. And now we want to set the actor's force Y property. And force Y is basically how fast the actor will jump. So we'll say like -4. And the reason I'm setting this to a negative number, and you're always going to, for a jump, want to set this to a negative number, is because this is basically how fast it's moving along the y-axis. So moving negative along the y-axis is moving up, and moving positive is moving down. And we don't want to jump down because that's bad. So we have all of that ready. And now we're going to, oh yeah, for that jump ready. Which actually, we're going to run it like this for now. And we'll go to that jump ready in a second. So, And now when we hit the Z key, the actor will jump. And we can move left and right. Now we're going to maybe adjust our speed a little bit too, so that, and actually maybe just for the jump. So for jump we'll set we're gonna create a speed variable. That'll be a good way to do it. So we'll create a variable called speed, and we'll set this equal to we're gonna make it a little bit faster, so like 3. And we're gonna say during the jump our speed will be double whatever it is. So speed equals speed times 2. And we'll say this is -1 times speed, and this will just be speed. Which, multiplying speed by -1 is basically just going to make it negative, so this will be moving -3 left and +3 right. And then whatever that is on the during the jump, it'll be double. So, and now let's just go ahead and run that. And oh, that's bad. So let's not do that. Instead, we'll just go speed +1. But I actually just speed plus, I should say, we'll say speed plus sine speed. And what this is doing, the sine will be like -1 for a negative number, it'll be +1 for a positive number, and it'll be 0 for 0. So it's not often I even use that function, but it's good to have it there. So now we can make our jump across our ledge. And probably we can play around with this, let's go ahead and play around with this just a little bit now. I'm going to slow this back down to 2. Yeah, so we can still make our jump across our ledge with that, and just feel free to play around with that as much as you need to. And it's right now is doing something we don't want, which is like every time it's in it jumps, it's setting our speed over. So our speed is just constantly increasing as we keep on moving. So what we want to do is if let's just say if left and right are not pressed. So I guess yeah, if, and honestly just for the purpose of this tutorial, to keep things simple, because what I was about to do with this was going to be pretty complicated, I'm going to leave that out and maybe do it in another tutorial. So let's just say if not key underscore left or key k underscore right, then we'll reset our speed to 2. So now we should be able to, hopefully, yeah, we can still make the jump, but now our actor should not be just constantly speeding up. Alright, and we're going to do one more thing real quick just to make so we don't have to restart it every time we fall off the stage. We're going to check to see if the actor is like its Y value gets below gets above a certain point, and if so, we're just going to reset him to his starting position. So, and actually before I do that, let's just get the actor's starting position. So we'll just go with whatever its starting position is. So starting POS equals whatever the actor, well, starting POS X equals actor X hero, and starting POS Y equals actor Y hero. And these actor X and actor Y are going to be set for the hero whenever it's like the stage is loaded. So that's where the actor starts at the start of the stage. And we're going to say if let's just say if starting, actually, if actor Y hero is greater than, let's see, we're gonna say greater than whatever the starting position is, starting Y is, plus like 6, well, like we'll say plus like 96. That'll allow it to fall like 3 tiles below the where the ground level starts, of where it starts at. And if that's the case, next I'll just go with 100 straight on that. And if that's the case, then we're going to reset the actor's position. So we can use the actor set position and hero, and we're going to go starting X, starting POS X, and starting POS Y. So now let's try that out. And run. So now we should be able to fall, and it'll restart our actor where it started at. Alright. And now we've gotten through controls and like some simple jumping. Now let's make this screen scroll. So to do that, we're going to need we're gonna have to determine when we want the screen to scroll, and we're gonna make it if the actor passes the halfway point on the screen. So we'll say if so for CamX is going to be we'll start out at 0, and CamY will start out at 0. And if the actor X hero is greater than half our screen width, which it's gonna half of 640 is gonna be 320. So if it's greater than 320, then cam X will equal actor X hero minus 320, which basically means it'll keep the actor like in the middle of the screen if it goes past like the halfway point. And we'll do the same thing for Y. And actually, there's no reason to do it for Y. We're just going to scroll on X. And if you want, you can do it on Y later. Just going to do the same thing, but with half of 480. So it'd be placing these with Y and placing those with 240. But that should be all we need for that. And after we get done doing all of this, we're going to use the stage set offset function. And we're going to set the offset to CamX and 0. And so now if we move past halfway point on the screen, our screen scrolls. And with that, we have ourselves a simple scrolling platformer with some parallax scrolling. I think I'm going to end this video here. well, no, I'm gonna do one more thing, and that is the animation. So right now our actor is not animated. So to do animation, we're going to well, we're going to set one the standing animation here, but we're going to stand the walk left animation here, and then well, did we call it walk left or run left? Let me open the editor back up because I actually do not remember what I called those animations. So let's load our sprite. Okay, and it was run right, and run left, and stand right, and jump. All right. So let's when we're moving the actor, we're going to also, let's see, we're going to have a variable for our current animation. So we'll call this current animation, and we'll set this equal to stand right. So and then we'll say act. Alright, and we can use some engine functions to check the actor animation that's playing. So we can say if actor get animation name, actor, let's see, hero, and I'm gonna go over to the docs, which is why I created these docs. It's pretty useful. So get the animation name. We're looking for actor and an N. So N is going to be an index for the animation, which we can get with alright, this actor current animation. So hero, and we're going actor current animation hero, and this is going to return the name of the animation currently playing, and we're going to check to see if it's equal to our current animation variable. And actually we want to check to see if it's not equal to our current animation variable, and if that's the case, then we're going to set the animation by name. So hero and current animation, which we're going to change the value of current animation when any of these are pressed. So if left key is pressed, then we're going to set current animation equal to run left, and if right is pressed, we're going to say current animation equals run right, and if neither key is pressed, and this part's still good, but we also want to make sure that if no key is pressed and the physics state is the ground. So if actor, and this we're basically wanting to check the physics state is on the ground, so that it's not stopping our jump animation, which we're going to set after this too. So if actor physics state is the ground, so physics state ground, then we want to set current animation equals and this is something else we're going to do. So if the physics state is the ground, we want to say stand left if it's facing left and stand right if it's facing right. So we can check that by saying like whatever the current animation already is. So if current animation, we'll say case, actually this would be better with just a regular if statement. So if current animation equals run left or current animation equals jump left, then current animation equals stand left. So if it's in the running left animation or the jumping left animation, we're going to assume that they're facing left. So we're going to put them in the stand left animation. Else, and else if current animation equals run right or current animation equals jump right, then if that's the case, we're going to set current animation equal to stand right. Oops. And alright, so that covers our standing, and now we want to set our jump animation when they're jumping. So we'll say current animation equals, and we probably would need to do the same thing. We could probably just copy and paste this because we need to check the direction they're facing to play the right jumping animation too. So we're just going to copy and paste that stuff, and obviously the stuff we're going to have to change in this should be obvious. We're not, instead of checking for run and jump left, we're checking for run and stand left. And if that's the case, we're going to play the jump left. And the same thing for the right. And when we set our new animation, we also want to make sure the animation starts at frame 0. Actually, we don't even really need to worry about that, but it actually does help to just go ahead and do that anyway. So we're going to say set animation frame hero 0. Yeah. Hero 0, I just realized that. Alright, so now let's go ahead and compile that, and I have an error on line 19. Current, this is supposed to be a string, so make sure you put your $ in there. Or you can, like, if you don't want to do that, you can just do current animation and $ just to go over the different ways you can do that. But most of the time, it's just convenient. When the first time you create a variable, just put your $ there for a string, and now we have our animation when we're walking. We have our jump animation when we're jumping, and it scrolls when we're running and jumping around and stuff. And that is our simple platformer game. If you have any questions, like post in the comments, or I'm gonna have a link to the forum. You can post questions there. I'm on like 1 or 2 days out of the week these days, but I try to get on as much as I can to answer questions. All right, thanks for watching.